Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. I hope you're keeping safe and you're having a good week. I just thought I'd pop by and do a little YouTube video. But before I do a YouTube video, I thought I'd just go through my second part of my new release. I was on the craft store last Thursday and Friday with the second half of my release, and I'm aware that not everybody watches the craft store, so I thought I would show the new release on my YouTube video. I also thought I'd show a couple of other pieces that I've been working on. We did this at the weekend on a workshop, and it's still available as an online workshop. It's Sewing Mends the Soul workshop, and you know, we had a lovely time, absolutely lovely. This is from my friend Clintine, and we just used lots of bits and pieces in our project, but I'm so delighted with it. I absolutely love it. All the details, using my sewing stamp sets and some ephemera. I'm really pleased with that. Just put it to one side like that so you can see how big the actual tag is. But I just thought I'd show that because I'm really pleased with that one. I absolutely love it. So we'll put that somewhere so it doesn't get knocked over. And then I've got another 3D project that we're creating in another workshop, an up and coming workshop. This is called an Acorn vignette, and the workshop is workshop 52, and we're going to be doing it on the 14th and 15th of August, and the start time is 10 AM, but you can watch it at any time. So even if you can't watch live, you can watch it at any time. The workshop's £25, and if you want to join me, I'll add my email in the description, just so that you can see that. Just tilt that on one side, just so that you can see all the details. I just love it, absolutely love it. It's such a fun piece to create. Nice and simple to create, but really fun. So I thought I'd show that one as well, mainly because I'm really proud of that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my new release that is part 2. I think maybe I should show both releases. I think I'll show both releases because I don't need to take too long, but we'll show both releases. So this is part 1. And first of all, we have the textured florals. And the textured florals are just stunning. Absolutely beautiful. And I think this is around about 5.5 inches in length, this flower. I'm sorry about the glare from the packaging, but I don't want you to keep you too long because I've already done a Facebook Live with this. So I don't want to keep you too long with going through the stamp sets. But I absolutely love this. And this one and this one, I'm just using over and over again, and I will do some YouTube videos on those as well. So that's the textured florals, and that's stamp set 531. Again, really good size florals there, absolutely fabulous, good size florals. I think I might have a sample. I might have a sample left from the show with the floral, just so that you can see it. That just shows the size of the floral. That uses part 1 and part 2 together. I'll probably do that as a YouTube video. But yes, that actually shows the floral. So I just thought I'd show that one. I'm not going to go through samples because I've done that on my Facebook page. If you go to my Facebook page, Tracy Evans, and you scroll down, you'll see the Facebook Live, and that goes through all the details for you. What I've also got is I've got a set of sentiments, Bring on the Sentiments, and I adore the fact that we've got this barcode that says create. Absolutely love that little touch. I just think it's fantastic. And got lots of sentiments like This Way Up, which can be used for your journals. Turn the Page we've got as well, which can be used for your journals. So I absolutely love this, just such a useful set. This one is called Bring on the Sentiments, stamp set 533. Then we've got a border stamp set. Again, can be used in its own right or actually broken down. And I just love this simple flower It's very classy when it's stamped. Absolutely love that. And that's called Gem of the Plant. And that is stamp set 539. And some of the stockists have now got these online on their shops, or you can also get them from the craft store. So I've also got a little A6 one. This is fun, this is ticketed snippets. And each one of these I've got as bigger stamps. So these can be used as embellishments to the bigger stamps. But also I've got a blank one that you can add your own ticketed snippet inside. So you can add some of the new release inside there, like the little Blackbirds. So I absolutely love this one. The beauty of nature is the sentiment, and it's stamp set 535. And it works so well on its own, but also with previous releases. And then we've got a really fun A7 one that's falling out of the packaging. A really fun A7 one. Fantastic as a background, fantastic in its own right. And if you wanted to create a card for a teenager, it'd work brilliant for that as well. It just works beautiful. It's called Sparks of Nature, and I'm really pleased with that one. So that's part one. Just move those on one side. And this is part two. This is part two. This is my Blackbird one. And if you go to the craft store and you go to TV schedule and you go to, once you click on the TV schedule, if you go back to last Thursday and Friday, you can still catch my shows on Rewind. I've also put those Rewind shows on my Facebook page, and you can watch all the shows on Rewind. So we've got a Blackbird stamp set. I must admit there was a card that I absolutely loved creating. So for instance, there's this one. The little Blackbird looks fantastic. And even the border stamp that I've got just looks fantastic in its own right. Just thought I'd show that one. And I've actually got a lovely star one somewhere. There's a lovely star one that we created as well, that works really well with all the dimension. So I'm really pleased with that one. Really pleased. Just, this has been moved because it's been in my bag, so it's been moved. So I need to redo that one. I need to return that. I'll do that a second. Let me get the original card. This is the original card. So I need to just turn that one. So this is the original card, just so that you can see just all the detail on there. It worked out really well. I love how that worked out. Absolutely love it. Just, that'd be a great Christmas card. So I'll just put those back. So that's with the Blackbird stamp set. And I'm in love with this stamp set. Absolutely love it. And it's got the word Blackbird just across the top here, where the label goes across. It's got the word Blackbird, and it's also got the word Fly Free as well. So just a fantastic stamp set. And that one is called Blackbird, and it's stamp set 530. And that's the one I'm going to use today with the Acorns. So I'm going to use this one as well today. I love this one because they even look 3D before they're even stamped, the Acorns do. Just another beautiful border stamp. And it should say Acorn Collage, not Acorn. It's whoever did the packaging has just put a spelling mistake in there, but it is Acorn. Acorn Collage. And it's stamp set 536. And we'll use that one today for our video. So if you've seen all this on the craft store, you can just fast forward. So then we've got, oh, I love this stamp set. This is my Reckoner Digits. Just such a useful stamp set, and you can read all the numbers. And that's a little A7 stamp set. And then we've got another fantastic border stamp set, just so that you can see that. Absolutely fantastic. I love these little bits on their own as well. Absolutely love them. Really useful stamp set that can be used in backgrounds or as a focal image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a card, and this is the card that I'm going to create. thought we'd use some greens this time round. So I just need to make sure that I've got my stencil, because I did a bit of unpacking, and of course when I did a bit of unpacking, I've just come to do my demo. Didn't think that, you know, I needed the stencil, but this is the card we're going to make. So what we're going to do is place this on one side, and hopefully we've got some bits and pieces cut, which we have, because I've been a little bit more organised. So we'll just get our mat, and we get our card blank, and hopefully we're all set just to create this card. There we go. Just place that card there so we can see that. Right. Just going to grab a little piece of kitchen roll, just because when I'm working with Distress Oxide inks, it's just important that I use a piece of kitchen roll, just so that I don't get the moisture from my fingers on the Distress Oxides. The Distress Oxides that I'm using are Twisted Citron, Crushed Olive and Peeled Paint. And I'm going to start with that Twisted Citron, and I'm going to ink up my ink. Just bring this in so that you can see that. Just blend quite a bit of ink just onto the ink blending tool, or whichever tool that you're using, and make sure that you've got a good layer of ink. Let's move this cable out of the way so I can actually do something. And I'm just holding onto my kitchen roll, just so that I don't get any finger marks just on that card. And I'm just keeping the amount of ink on my ink blending tool just topped up, just so that it doesn't drag against the card. The minute it starts to drag against the card, it means that you've not got enough ink. You've not got enough ink on your implement. So you just need to make sure that you've got plenty of ink on there. And if you've got plenty of ink on there, it blends beautifully. I mean, the oxides blend really nicely anyway, but if you take your time and just make sure that you've got plenty of that ink, it works a lot better, and it stops it from dragging it. It stops it from dragging on the card. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to the Crushed Olive. So we've got our Crushed Olive, and I'm just going to pick up some of that Crushed Olive. I haven't used Crushed Olive for quite a while, so I'm going to use some of that. And obviously you don't want to cover up all the Twisted Citron. You want to keep some of that visible. So you're layering the colour and leave the central area so that it's that Twisted Citron. And it's beautiful because this is not dragging. It's blending beautifully, so it's not dragging at all. And because I'm using the implements, you're getting ink here on your non-stick craft sheet. As you drag the ink over, you're dragging some of that ink from the non-stick craft sheet onto your card. So this is what I've got now. So what I do then is just use the implement that I was using for the Twisted Citron and just blend the colour. Just use what colour's on there and just remove any lines. So we've used the Twisted Citron, the Crushed Olive, and now we're going to use the Peeled Paint. Sorry, my actual craft mat is actually moving. So I'm going to use the Peeled Paint. I'm going to pick up plenty of that ink again, and then I'm going to apply the third colour of ink. And the Peeled Paint is a little bit darker, so it adds a little bit more depth of colour. So just pick up a little bit more colour and just go around. So it just adds a little bit more depth to your project. And again, just move those inks out the way and then go back to the previous colour, which in this case was the Crushed Olive. Go back to that colour. You don't need to add any more ink to your tool. just blend out the lines with your previous colour. That's all you're doing. Just blending out the lines with the previous colour. There we go. So we'll just wipe up our non-stick craft sheet. But if you didn't want to waste that ink, what you can do is you can move your card out the way, you can spritz this with water and then you can mop it up. And then you'd have a second background. So you can do that as well. Let's just wipe our non-stick craft sheet. Right, what we're going to do now, place this here. And what we've got, let me just bring this into the camera. What I've got is I've got this stencil. A beautiful stencil. And it depends how you use it, how you want to use it. It's entirely up to you. And what I'm going to do, it depends, you know, you can use it any way you want is what I'm trying to say. You can use it this way or you can use it this way. Now what I'm going to do, just off camera, I'm spritzing this stencil with a good layer of water. So I'm just spritzing that with a good layer of water, and then I'm just going to place that onto the background. Now those oxides are reactive to water. So because they're reactive to water, it means that because I've got water on that stencil, it'll start to react. So what I just use is I use a piece of kitchen roll just to press onto that stencil. And I press it onto that stencil, and what the best thing to do is to allow it to sit for a few moments. So what the demonstrator will tend to do is waffle for a little bit, just while that moisture reacts with the inks. So as you can see, I've lifted up quite a bit of ink there. So I'll just turn my kitchen roll and I'll just dab it once again, just a little bit more. Just dab that once again. Just give it time just to rest on that card. Sometimes when we do this technique, we're in a little bit too much rush. So what we're going to do then is lift our stencil, and you've also got ink on there. So if you've got a spare piece of card, have we got a spare piece of card? Let's just move this out the way just while that, and when you've got a spare piece of card, you can then just test to see if you've got any more on your card. Just see if it'll create another background. There's not much on there, but it's just worth testing. Spritz it again if you wish, but you can just check to see if there's anything else on there, just to create a second background. There's that flower again from the stamp sets. So we'll just move that stencil out the way. What she means is on the floor. And what I'm going to do is just wipe my non-stick craft sheet, and then taking another piece of kitchen roll, and the longer that you leave this on the card, the more it will react. The longer you leave it on the card. So I'm just going to blot that. Just blot that card just to get rid of some of that moisture now. As you can see, there's quite a bit of moisture on there, and you can see that you've got a beautiful, beautiful background. Right, so let's see what little bits we've got here. See if I've cut up some little bits, and I think I've been good and cut up some little bits here. Tracy can't pick them up because, there we go. I've cut some little bits up just to save us a little bit of time. Now what I need to do is just grab a little scrap of card. Grab a little scrap of card. And then what we do is we take the stencil once again, and we're going to use these as like little platforms, these semicircles. And what you can do is you can use any ink that you've got left on your ink blending tool and just blend the ink. So you can take the inks, you can blend as much or as little colour as you want onto there. And what you need to do is you need to create 3 of those. Again, you can spritz the stencil with water and just create another background if you wish with the ink that's remaining on the stencil. So you want 3 of these. So what we've got is we've got 3 of these little platforms which are going to work beautifully for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my heat tool, just because that card is a little bit wet. So we just need to bring in the heat tool. And what we need to do is just give that a little bit of a dry. Just turn that over. Just so that we can give that a dry. It's just important that we give it a dry because we're going to add a little bit of stamping. So what I'm going to do is find where this lined up. So move this out. So find where this lined up, which is like this. So line the stamp back up again. Let's make sure that we've got that lined up. Yeah. So line your stamp back up again. Just make sure that's... And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of stamping, maybe in a couple of these little areas here. Just a couple of little areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Blackbird stamp set. And I'm going to use it as is rather than an acrylic block. And I'll explain why. When I'm stamping through the stencil, if I stamp through the stencil, there's already a ridge on that stencil. So if I use my acrylic block, I'm not going to get in there because you've got the depth of the acrylic block, the depth of the stamp, and you've got this little lip that's on the stencil. So I'm going to use it as is. So I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I'm going to ink the star stamp, just a little bit of it. And then what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of stamping just on the inside of this semicircle. Just add a little bit of stamping on the semicircle. Oh, and the stars up above has just hit there, which is nice. So I'm going to get these numbers here on the star. Just add those numbers. I love that it's got some little threads on as well. Absolutely love that. Some of this will be covered up, some won't. So I'm just adding little bits of stamping here and there, just to the little semicircles. Just here and there. So I'm not adding too much detail, I'm just adding a little bit of stamping. And you see some of this will be covered up because I'm going to add a different element. It may look slightly different than the original card because obviously every time you stencil it looks completely different. So you lift that up and you've got, let me just lift this up. Can you see that you've got that stamping within the semicircle. Little bit of stamping within the semicircle. So what you have to remember is, if your card doesn't look exactly the same as the original, it doesn't matter, just change it round a little bit. It doesn't matter that it's not totally the same. Right, let's just clear this up a little bit. Now what I need to remember to do is, we've stamped this onto Distress Oxides, so it's no longer porous because you've got that layer of oxide, that layer of pigment. So just blot that image, just to make sure. As you can see, look how much ink. Let's see if that's visible. Yes. Can you see how much ink comes off there? So just give that a couple of blots, because you don't want to smudge it too much. So just give it a couple of blotting. Just so that it's nice and dry. Just take your time to blot. If you wish, you can dry with your heat tool, but I'm doing a live video, so I'm just going to blot, but you can just heat that with your heat tool. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to bring in my little semicircles, which are in the background, so I'm going to use them in the foreground as well. So what I'm going to do is bring in another stamp set. So we're going to bring in our Acorns. Oh, I'm dropping all the plastic all over the floor. We're going to bring in our little Acorn stamp set. Just bring in that. I've put all my acrylic blocks away, like you do. So let's get an acrylic block and bring in that acorn. So what I'm going to do is ink up one of the acorns. Doesn't matter which acorn you ink up, because you're just going to stamp part of that acorn onto the background. Yes, so I want one with this on, like so. So stamp that acorn onto the background, and again onto that Distress Oxide ink. Look at the detail in that. Look at the detail in that acorn. Just stunning. Absolutely stunning. I will blot those shortly. Then I'm going to take another semicircle, and I'm going to ink the other side of the acorn. And some of this is going to be covered up because I've got some 3D acorns as well. Just allow that ink to rest on your card a few moments before you lift it up. Let's just move that. So we've got two lovely acorn pieces, and we're just going to give those a blot. Just because, again, you've gone on to that Distress Oxide, and you can see there's quite a bit of ink on there. So just blot those images. Again, you can dry with your heat tool if you wish, but I'd still recommend blotting first. It's just a good habit to get into. So then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our Blackbirds. We're going to do something a little bit different with those. So let me grab my Blackbirds, which are on my Blackbird stamp set. Take the Blackbirds, like so, and then I just need another stamp set. I need the little semicircle stamp set. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, these are both new, so I need one of my VersaFine Claire's that is not new, which is that one. As you can see, let me show you, I've written new on here because this is a new ink pad. I want an ink pad that's been used a little bit, that's not quite as juicy for this one. I did this on the craft channel, but I'm going to do it again here on my YouTube. So ink up your stamp with the VersaFine Claire Nocturne that's not quite as juicy, that's been in your drawer for a bit and you've used it quite a bit. So I'm going to ink that up, ink my Blackbirds up, and then what I'm going to do is press my semicircles onto my bird, like so. Press the semicircles on there, and then I'm going to add those here onto our semicircle. And you just need to let that rest on there because you've removed a little bit of that ink with the semicircles. So just allow that to sit on there and then peel it away, and look what you get. You get little birds with semicircles on, which is fantastic because it coordinates with the semicircle of the shape. Absolutely love that. I'll show you another little trick as well. Let me just grab my, just show you another little trick as well. So we'll just move that out the way, just dumping the stamps. I'll show you another little trick. So you've got a skeleton leaf. So I've got a skeleton leaf here. Just a skeleton leaf that lots of us have in our collection. And this time I'm going to use a new ink pad. One that's quite juicy. That you know, it's not been used as much as the previous one. And what I'm going to do, make sure that I'm in camera, I'm going to stamp onto this skeleton leaf. I'm going to press the bird on the skeleton leaf. Not only have you got the skeleton leaf, you've also got birds that look completely different. How cool is that? Absolutely love it. And then you've got the skeleton leaf that's got the blackbirds on. So another little trick for you. I did that on the crafts channel, but I just thought I would do it here on my YouTube channel as well, because I don't want any of you to miss out, because not everybody watches the TV. So right, let's have a look at our composition. Let's just give those a blot. Just let me make sure that those birds are blotted, just in case. Just grab my adhesive and let's just have a look at the composition. So I'm going to add one here, a roundabout, and I'd always recommend looking through the camera or taking a picture. It's so much easier if you take a picture. So just bring these down a little bit, like so, and this one, bring that across a bit, and this one will go here, like this. So I would recommend taking a picture because then you've got a better idea of where things are going. So I'll take this one, just add my first semicircle. Oh, I've got an itchy nose. What does that mean? So just add that there, and I'm not pressing it down. I'm not pressing it down so that if it's not quite in the right place, I can move it a little bit. So if it's not quite right, I can move that a little bit. So I'm not pressing anything down with the adhesive. I'm just putting it in place and I'm not pressing at all. Just so then I can move it if I wish. So what I can do then is, once I know it's in the right place, I can just press. There we go. And it's coming together nicely now. It really is coming together nicely. So I'm just going to add a few more details now. So what we want to do now is, let's just grab this scrap of card. What we want to do now is grab our Acorn stamp set. I'm already getting in a mess. It's my first demo back while I'm at home and I'm already getting in a mess. Doesn't take me long. So I'm going to take this Acorn stamp set and then I'm going to stamp the acorns once again. And then you can drop it on your project. Wonderful. That's because my stamp set it's been used so much that it's got bits of embossing powder, bits of everything on the stamp set at the back. So it needs a little bit of a wipe and then the stickiness will come back again. Let's see if it'll just turn over without dropping off. So just add that acorn to a piece of white card. And again, allowing that ink to sit. Just look at the detail in that. Absolutely wonderful. And it's only the acorns I want on this occasion. But it almost looks 3D already. So what I've done then is I've coloured the acorns with polychromo pencils and just added a little bit of shading around the edges to hide that white space. So then I'm going to add some 3D foam. My scissors, I need to clean them. I need to remember to put them on one side and just seam them give them a clean. My words will come out eventually, so I'm adding a little bit of 3D foam to these just to give me a little bit of dimension, and I'm probably going to add two pieces of the 3D foam just to give me a little bit more depth to those pieces. So just remove that, which sometimes is easier said than done. And then just to make that a little bit more permanent, I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive just to the 3D foam. It also means that I can move them a little bit if I don't get them in the exact place I need them, because that wet glue will allow me time to move. So what I'm going to do then is just add, so I can still see a little bit of these, just going to add those acorns there, just so I can see a little bit. We've still got some depth to add. And then what I've got is I've got the little Blackbird stamped on its own, and I've got Acorn stamped on its own. So I'm going to add these to my project. Just dump your stamp on one side, Tracy, like you do. To add this little Blackbird, like so. Just to add that, so this is used as a little ledge. I always do this quite frequently, is use the stencils as little ledges. There's a few of us that are doing it now. Add that as a little ledge. And then I should have another little Blackbird. Yes, I have. Oh, I'm well trained, look. Got another little Blackbird. Take that. Just add that little Blackbird here on the other ledge, like so. Right, what we're going to do now is have a look at the Acorn stamp set. Let's take this acorn, just move this out of the way. Move the Acorn stamp, just move that there. I'm just going to take that A the A that's on the Acorn stamp set. And what I'm going to do, take that A, and the A is on my other card, but my composition is a little bit different on the other card. So I'm just going to have a look if I can stamp that A just a little bit differently than the first card. So yes, we can stamp that a little bit differently. So let's just, don't put your stamp on the edge of the acrylic block, because if you do that, you can't lift the acrylic block to get the flexibility because it's right on the edge. So you can't get your hands to give the flexibility. So what I'm going to do is remove that excess ink, and I'm just going to hover just over, just to see where I want it. We'll have it there, like so. And I'm just going to allow that ink just to rest on there, just to rest. And when I was saying don't have it right at the edge, it means then I can lift this acrylic block, whereas I couldn't lift that before. So just allow that to sit on there, and then you can lift the acrylic block. Just beautiful. And again, we need to blot that a little bit, just to because look how much ink you get off there. So just blot it a couple of times, or again you can heat with your heat tool, but I would still recommend blotting as well. So then I've got another little Blackbird. On my other card, the Blackbird faced this way, but on this one, I'm going to have this one facing this way, just to make it a little bit different. So take that little Blackbird, so that it's on top of the A. I love when you can use things as little ledges. I do it all the time. Use them as little ledges. Okay. Then we've got the word Acorn. So we're going to add that. Just going to add that underneath here, like so. Then on the Blackbird stamp set, we've got a little tiny sentiment, a little tiny one. Markings and colours of the bird, it says. I will pick this up when I've stamped it. Markings and colours of the bird. And yes, I get into a terrible habit that when I stamp something that's got words on it, I have to read it out. Terrible habit, but it's just one of those things. We've all got our little quirky things, haven't we, that we do, and that's one of mine. Just clean my hand a little bit. Let me just hold that sentiment up for you so you can see it. Markings and colours of the bird. So use it. I'm going to have to use my big scissors, even though they're a bit stuck. I need to sort that out. I need to use some hand sanitizer just on the blades. There we go. It's actually stuck now. My scissors are. Oops, now dropped it. Oh, like you do. Drop it and everything else. Just trim that a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to add this little sentiment. Try not to read it out again. But before I do, I'm just going to add some washi tape. Let me see if I can find my washi tape. What did I do with the washi tapes? I've just grabbed the first washi tape I can find. I'm just going to add a little bit of that washi tape just down the side and the top. So I'm going to add a little bit just here. Just like so. A few little layers. I like to tear it. Just a few little layers. And if you layer it and you don't want to necessarily have set words on there, layer it together and nobody will ever know what it says. Just lay your little different bits on there, and you can just have the black and white sort of a hint of the wording just on there. So we've got a little bit of washi tape. Let's add a little bit more the other way. Obviously, if you want the word to say an exact thing, then you can do that. Just adding. But I love the torn edges. I do love a good torn edge. Just move that up a bit. There you go. Just add that washi tape across there. Then I'll take my little sentiment that we just did and just add that across there. The little pop of white from the sentiments really adds a lovely detail. Right, let's grab our, have we got that? Where's my old water brush? Have we left that out? Of course we haven't left that out. That'd be too easy, wouldn't it? If we'd left it out, or we could find it, it would be too easy. There it is. Just grab a little bit of water. A little bit of water there. I can't see, you see, because I'm trying to reach over. Right, what I'm going to do now is use my Inktense pencil, and I'm just going to go around the semicircles, just here. Just go around the semicircles, just so I can add a little bit of shading, just to make them a little bit more 3D. And I'm turning my card because it makes it a lot easier to turn the card than it does trying to turn my hand. Little bit of shading around those wording. Little bit of shading around that. Just makes it pop a little bit more when we add that water. Again, you can use a Distress Oxide, you can use a watercolour, whichever works for you. So I'm just going to add that shading. And the oxides will react a little bit. That's natural, it's what they're meant to do. So I'm just adding that little bit of shading just around each of the pieces, just so that it stands out a little bit. Again, just turning my card because it's a lot easier to turn the card, and just dabbing a little bit of water, mainly because my water brush is an old water brush and I won't bin it, I still use it. Just go around there. I will hold this up just so that you can see, like so, just so that you can see the dimension. Just hold that up just so that you can see how it makes it look a little bit more 3D. And I love that you can still see the semicircles in the background. The semicircles also coordinate with the semicircles on the little Blackbird. So then I'm going to add some touches of Posca Pen. Just to the background. Just because, again, that lifts the whole design. Then we're going to add that to a black mat, because it always looks a little bit better when you add it to a mat. When you mat and layer everything, it always looks that much better. So just add that to a black mat, line up my left hand side, and then stand up, because then you can pick your card up and you can manoeuvre it a little bit just to get it lined up. I always tend to stand up, just find it a lot easier. So then just one little touch. Let's just make sure that my Acorn stamp is dry. Just dab that. What I'm going to do then is ink the Acorn word here, just on the acorn. Just to ink that Acorn word. And then what I'm going to do is just stamp that on there, just so it says Acorn, just on there. Just stamp that. We'll give that a little blot, just to make sure it's not going to smudge, because we don't want that to happen. Then we'll add that to our white card. Just add that to the white card. And don't forget maybe to add a little insert. Stamp the A on the inside and add the little Blackbird on the top, just so that you've got an insert that coordinates beautifully. Add that to a white card blank, like so. And if you add an insert, it'll look really professional. But I think that is such a lovely card. I love the dimension, the colours, the little bit of stamping inside, the semi-circles. I love how I've got stars up above. Just love that. Just move that around just so that you can see that. And this is my favourite bit, having those birds with the semicircles on. So it all works together beautifully. And that is our card finished. So I hope you enjoyed the little video. I always said that, you know, when I had stamp sets, I would never just disappear. I'd always be here to ensure that you had inspiration to keep you going forward when you've bought the stamps, even when you've had the stamps for a year. I just thought that it's important that I still make sure that I pop along and add videos to my YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a lovely week. I hope you're enjoying your stamps, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.